Of all the world debuts at the Dusseldorf Boat Show, this is one you don't want to miss. It's the debut boat from a new brand. This is the Wiszniewski W43. Now, it might be a new brand, but it's the work of a company with tremendous heritage, the Schlepp's shipyard. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. It was established in the Lake District of Poland back in 1989. So for 35 years, they've been operating as a subcontractor for a tremendous range of brands, including Axopar, Yamarin, Exo, Quicksilver, Sea Ray, and plenty more besides. So they have tremendous industrial capacity and tremendous expertise, and that is the point of this boat. This is designed to be a showcase for their expertise, a showcase for what they can do. And as we walk around this stand, not even looking at the boat, but looking at the stand itself, all of this was the work of the shipyard itself, done in-house. All the steel work, all the powder coating, all the cutting, the rope work. As we move over here, you'll see the stairs, the timber, the glass, everything was put together by their in-house professionals. So it bodes very well for what we're going to see when we step on board the boat itself. And that's what we'll do right now. Now, the first and most obvious innovation here is, of course, this back end. We have a triple rig of outboards there, but we still have a full beam swim platform that orbits those outboards. Makes really good use of space, extends the overall length beyond 45 feet. We've seen this kind of innovation from, most notably, I guess, from De Antonio. They're award-winning boats where they have a sunbed above the outboards, but of course that introduces lots of weight, and not the case here. They don't need to adapt the hull for additional aft buoyancy because they're not adding too much weight. And also, this platform doesn't interact in any way with the water unless you actually want it to when you're alongside or an anchor, when you can drop it down into the water. You can raise it to deck level, or you can lift it, elevate it, so that in a Mediterranean marina, when you come alongside stern to, you can step straight onto the pontoon. So that is a very attractive feature, a little grab rail inset into the deck there. And as we step on board, you'll see that the calibre of the detailing really is very impressive, as impressive as you'd expect of a shipyard with this kind of heritage. Beautiful work, all done in-house. Further forward, we've got a transverse platform here that hinges up, so you can make your way from side to side ahead of those cowlings, and of course it means that when you come alongside you can trim the engines right out. And before we get into the cockpit itself, it's just worth noting how profoundly well built everything is. Even just here, a little hatch that hides the waste outlet. I mean, the quality of the door is so solid, feels really high quality. The same goes for the gate here at the back end of the cockpit. Here's your transom shower. And this too, this is built from fiberglass, a bracket that wraps right around the aft end of the bench here at this dinette. And on the other side, we have a similar kind of setup. It's very pleasant downlighting there, LED downlighting in blue. A similar calibre of door, and the dinette itself is really low slung. Looks and feels really very comfortable. You get far less in the way of wind blast when you're that low down, and also it's quite interesting that they've deliberately done this to keep the weight as low as possible, because this is designed to be a performance boat. Certainly the engine options reflect that. I mean, we've got triple 300s here, and they should be good for 43 or 44 knots. But you can also have twin 400s for 41 to 42 knots, and they're testing this boat. This is only the prototype at this stage, but they're testing things out just to see if they can fit it with a triple rig of 400 as well, which should bring 50 knots into the equation. So that's quite something. As for this dinette, it's beautifully put together, very intimate, and this actually is the only deck layout you get. I quite admire that about this new brand. They're not giving you all kinds of options so you can configure it in the way that you like. This is the layout that they reckon works, and I can see why. We've still got drop-down terraces on either side. That's all the rage these days on proper open day boats, and they're perfectly positioned just to expand the deck space exactly where it's most beneficial. They're actually manually operated at the moment, but as I say, this is a prototype boat. in the future that will be a push button operation. And again, just look at the scale of these hinges. Absolutely massive. Everything feels so beautifully engineered. There is potential for storage in the seat bases, but here we have a speaker mounted. So this particular seat base, it occupies about 70 litres. That's left open to create a cabinet for that speaker to improve the quality of the sound. Now this is a really classy touch. This table here is built from solid mahogany, but it has metal inserts inside it. And these plates, bowls and glasses, they're built by a German company called Sylvie, so that when you pop them on the table, the magnetic force keeps them stuck, so when you're at sea, they don't roll around and clatter. Look at that. How thoughtful is that? And the same goes up here. There are metal inserts in here as well, so these glasses and chopping boards stay put. And it's the same actually in the bases for the drawers. Really thoughtful work. I should point out, as that just slightly releases itself, that as the prototype boat, they don't yet have the soft close mechanisms that they're going to have in the future. But while we're here, it's worth having a closer look at this galley too. We've got an ice maker here, a big fridge on the other side, a good bit of work surface there, and under the lid, an electric griddle and a decent size of sink. It's well placed too. Spin myself around, direct access to the dinette, exactly where you want to be. And although we have this hardtop above us, if I spin around, you'll see there's a big opening directly above the skipper, which is great for getting rid of your smells, your fumes, your steam and so on. And let's move around this side and look at the deck, because you look down and you think, well, there's an outboard power boat, there'll be lots of volume beneath there, and there is, but it's not particularly well used in terms of storage. What you get down there is batteries and a largely unused space. It's shallower than most would be because of course this cockpit deck is set quite low. If we look on this side, we've got decent spaces here, not drained yet, but they will be. As I say, this is the prototype boat, and this is an ideal sort of spot for your fenders and your lines. If I move further forward, there's another couple of hatches in the centre, and again, I believe this is taken up with, yeah, that's access to your fuel tank, a 1200 litre tank there. Now let's make our way forward to the helm, and as we do so, it's worth noticing that the stanchions for the hardtop come right out to the gunnels, so that the entire beam of the boat is made available for this internal day space. It's a very effective solution. We've seen it work pretty well on the likes of Jeanneau's DB series, but it's more effective here because the hardtop itself is so fully featured. As you move forward a little bit more, you'll see it's cut away on either side of the helm station because we have a set of boarding steps, one on either side. It's a very practical touch. And when we get to the helm itself, the first thing to note is the sheer scale of these seats. There are 3 individual seats, each with individual bolster mechanisms. But like this, you could easily sit a couple of adults and a couple of kids at that helm very comfortably. Or if you want to concentrate on a more aggressive drive, or perhaps you're in more aggressive seas, then folding down these really beautifully built armrests gives you a bit of lateral support as well. Now let's get those back out of the way and take a seat. Because as things stand, this being the prototype, you're exactly my eye level here as a 6-footer. They tell me that they find the seats slightly low, so they're going to raise those by about 6 centimetres just so you can see the bow of the boat. But of course, with the bolster mechanism, you can elevate yourself a touch to get a view more like that. And I have to say, visibility is fantastic. Wide open on the sides, of course. There's this big aperture above us for fresh air. Nice big one-piece screen there. And although the stanchions are a decent width, the fact that the screen is so far forward gives you a real sense of 360-degree visibility. But there's another quite cool feature here. And it all comes from the fact that Wiszniewski Yachts sees no need to generate volume with its furniture on this deck for a mid-cabin down below, because there is no mid-cabin. They're not interested in that. So down here, I fold this bolster back up and out of the way, you'll see that we have this device. Now I have to press this and pull this at the same time. There we are. Slides straight out and braces itself against this fiberglass moulding. Usually this kind of device, if you want to step on there and look through the sunroof, would be a fold down mechanism, as I say, because they tend to try, designers, to generate volume for mid-cabins down below, but here it slides straight out because there's no need to do that. It's a lovely feature, beautifully built again. Trouble is, when I stand on that as a 6-footer, this is my view. All I see is this big moulding for that sunroof. There's a handy grab handle there, but still, something's got to be done in terms of the ergonomics for the visibility there. But I have no doubt that they're working on that as we speak. Now let's step down onto the side deck, take a little step up and walk forward. As we do so, again, worth noting this, beautiful high quality stainless steel work, all done in-house. The sunken cleats and the inset grab rails. Make our way all the way to the bow. And the first thing you see is this, a really elevated island sunbed. Built-in headrests here. Really quite classy cup holders. Don't want to get too excited about a cup holder. A cup holder is a cup holder, but again, solid mahogany, stainless steel linings. As cup holders go, they're absolutely beautiful. And this, I would suggest, is big enough for 3 people. And the fact that you've got these stainless steel peripheral rails makes you feel that bit more secure. And we also have, in spite of the fine entry of that hull, enough breadth and, more significantly, enough length for a proper lounge up here. A 5-man lounge, 2 people forward, 3 people here, and again, more of these lovely cup holders with LED lighting inset, plus a couple of these little cylinders that pop out and automatically light up the lounge. Now this is a great space, a really authentic alternative to the big dinette in that cockpit. But of course, when you generate a foredeck like this, that has implications down below. So let's nip down and see exactly what the accommodation is all about. Now it's interesting to note as I walk down here into the lower deck that the accommodation is every bit as specific as the deck layout up top. There are no options, this is what you get. So it doesn't pander to guests. What we have here in the V of the bow is a 2-man settee, and that looks across in a way to a single pod on the starboard side, so you could feasibly sit 3 people down here. And if you want to stay here for the night as a couple, then you simply grab this section, roll it out into the space, and there you have, very quickly and very simply, a double bed, access on both sides. It's a good size, that, good headroom. We've got a little hatch up top beneath those sunbed cushions, and long windows with blinds on both sides for lovely views. We also have what appears to be a mirror, but is actually a television. And again, the quality is very good. It seems like they've worked quite hard not to do the simple thing. If we look round here, you'll see the curve in the cabinetry. Again, this is a mix of ply with veneers and solid mahogany carcassing. It certainly feels very high quality indeed. And in spite of the fact that we've got these big, pronounced side decks there, space in here is pretty decent, I have to say. You don't feel shortchanged. But as I look aft, you will discover that all we have is a couple of steps. Good storage in there, but as I say, no mid-cabin and no prospect of acquiring one. That's not what this boat is about. This is very much a decadent couple's plaything, and you feel that when you're down here, absolutely. Of course, you still get a heads compartment though, and that's to the side of me here. Let's just turn those lights on if we can. There we are. And this again feels very distinctive. They've used every spare inch they can beneath that dash space. And it's split broadly into 2. We've got a sink and storage unit with a little window here and a mirror that slides across. And then if I close this off, you'll see that at the entry point we've got a nice big shower section. So you can keep your towels over the other side and do the entire operation in one go without getting yourself in a muddle. It's not huge, but it's perfectly serviceable. And again, beautifully built, I have to say. The details are pretty good too. If we look through these windows, you'll see we've got cutouts in those bulwarks. They're designed to kind of mimic the pattern, the shape of shark's gills. They look pretty cool. You can only really see through those when you're in the standing position. When you're down at seating level, they don't do a great deal. But still, it's a nice little touch. Obviously happens on both sides. But it's not just about how beautifully built this boat is, it's also about the sophistication of the styling. It all feels tremendously confident. For instance here, now in terms of the basic deck layout, of course, it's symmetrical, bed in the centre, symmetrical steps on either side. But in terms of the way they fitted it out, well, we've got mahogany inlays in the bulkhead here. On the starboard side forward, we've got a little mahogany shelving unit for your books and your phones and so on. Now on the starboard side here, just an upholstered bulkhead with no inlay at all. It seems like a minor thing, but actually it's really pleasing. And you see elements like that all over this boat. It doesn't do the obvious thing. And it really feels good because of that. It's still not perfect, of course. They could do with attending to the ergonomics at the helm, so when you're standing on that elevated plinth, you've got better view over the screen there. In the absence of a mid or aft cabin, they could also do with integrating dedicated storage trays beneath the deck so you can make better use of that volume. And they could also do with devising some form of canvas that goes down to the back end of that dinette, so when the weather turns you could cocoon off this entire space, shelter yourselves from the weather. Now, in spite of the fact that the parent company behind Wiszniewski Yachts is a firm with such proven industrial heritage, generating more than 3,000 boats per year, this is absolutely not going to be a mass-produced boat. Certainly it already feels very much like a bespoke platform, a custom-built boat, and they anticipate building no more than 30 per year, which is a bit of a shame. That said, even though this is a prototype boat, it is already a very promising showcase for what these guys are capable of.